Hello and welcome back. So this patch is a variation on one that I made in my previous video, which was about the Xaoc device's Sofia. It was one of the more complex patches in that video, so I said I'd come back and revisit it separately. I've kind of evolved it a little bit, but the basic principle's the same. It's all about using an 8-step sequence, in this case from the Moskwa, from Xaoc devices, which is going to play two parts. It's going to play a simple monophonic voice, which is the Sofia oscillator playing the main melody, and then it uses a sample and hold via a clock divider to generate a 5-part shifting chord, which is played by Xaoc devices Odessa. That's their digital additive oscillator with the Hell expander, which lets you play up to 5-note chords paraphonically. So I'm not going to unplug everything, but I'm going to kind of take it down bit by bit and explain how it's built up. And yeah, even if you don't have these specific modules, the basic principle of using a sample and hold with a simple sequencer is something you can extend in various ways. So let's look at what's actually connected. I've got Pamela's new workout providing 3 outputs to the Moskwa and the Ostankino expander. I've got the main clock itself. I've got a reset signal whenever I press start and every few bars in case I want to mess with the step length but still keep it to a regular sort of 4/4 pattern. And then I've also got a transpose every 4 bars, which is shifting the whole sequence up a fourth. So I'm just sending 9% out of output 3 on a divide by 32 into the transpose input on the expander. And that's playing, let's just listen to what that's playing in Sofia first of all. So the volt per octave out of Moskwa is going into the mult on the IntelliGel case. I'm taking a copy of it through contour 1 to act as a bit of portamento, and then into the volt per octave on Sofia. And Sofia's set up pretty simply. I've just got a couple of other slow LFOs modulating the mix of the ripple elements, the mix of the fundamental with the ripple elements, and ratio A. I've also got a bit of per note random modulation coming from RND Step. I'm taking a bit of that into ratio B. I'm taking a little bit into the times on contour 1 for the portamento, and I'm taking another unipolar random output there onto the decay time of the envelope. The envelope is the Danny Sound ADSR, and the VCA that I'm using is the Expert Sleepers Persephone with no distortion or anything, just quite a clean signal. So that's the basic melody sequence. I've also got it running through this Zoom pedal for a bit of tape echo and a bit of reverb. So that gives us a nice kind of ambient sequence. You can hear that transpose every 4 bars. Pretty simple. Now, the next part of the patch is the Odessa voice, and for that I've got 5 copies of the volt per octave from the sequence, and I'm using Stages from Mutable Instruments as a 5-way sample and hold. I'm taking the clock, copy of the gate from the sequencer. That's going into this Doepfer A-160-2 clock divider, and I'm taking divisions divide by 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7 at the moment to trigger the sample and hold. So that's giving me, it's grabbing pitches at every 2 clocks for the first voice, every 3 clocks for the second voice, and so on, down to every 7 clocks for the last voice. They're going into, those pitches are going into the Hell expander on Odessa, and I've got a very, very subtle couple of bits of modulation there as well. I've got a very attenuated LFO going to the spectral tilt, and I've got another very slow LFO from my final channel of Stages going into the warp input as well. I've just kind of set the other controls, which are pretty static. Now, with no effects on, this is what this sounds like. So you can see when it's triggering each of these sample and holds when these little faders go green. So we've got this 5-note chord that's kind of, the voicing's constantly shifting, but it's always related to what's in that sequence. And of course we can take out that divide 2 and move that into divide by 4, which will kind of slow the rate of movement a little bit because it won't be changing quite so quickly in that first voice. We could even move that to the divide by 8. And we could flick it to the prime number divisions on the clock divider, for example, which would be a lot less predictable, a bit more slow moving. But I quite like what we get with the 2 to 8, and then using 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 seems to give us quite a nice pattern. That's the amount of LFO going to the spectral tilt, which I'm controlling through Quadrat. All the LFOs are coming from the new Systems Instruments Quad LFO, which I'll be doing a little video about soon. And basically to make this sound gorgeous, I've got it running through Monsoon, the Clouds clone, tiny bit of granular business, a little bit of subtle octave up stuff there, and then we just bathe it in reverb. Bring in the Sofia voice again. A couple of other things we can do to keep this interesting. We could try using, try adjusting the step length of that sequence. So make it 7 steps. And I've got that reset, which will kind of bring it back every couple of bars. But that'll change the chord changes as well in Odessa. Try 6 steps. These are all nice ways to kind of vary the effect. Another thing we can try with Moskwa is adding a bit of rhythmic variety to that sequence. Programmed in a couple of rests on a few of these steps, which gives the sequence a different rhythm. And because the gates which the clock divider is using are based on that sequence, that's going to slow the rate of the change of these chords slightly as well, which is quite a nice effect. So there you have it, one sequence playing a melody, and with Odessa getting this kind of shifting harmonic background, which is always related to the main sequence. The trick here, of course, is to use a sequence where the notes are kind of harmonically related. I've basically got a minor 7th, 9th chord playing like an arpeggio, and it works a treat. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.